The moment I realized my wife might be a murderer was when I saw her standing barefoot in the kitchen at 3 in the morning, sleeves soaking wet, hiding a phone inside the freezer the second she noticed me. Up until that moment, I kept convincing myself everything was fine, that Claire was just stressed, that our marriage was going through a rough patch, that I was imagining things. We had been together for almost 12 years, and for nearly a decade, we'd been best friends with another couple, Ethan and Rachel. Vacations together, backyard barbecues, Christmas dinners, birthdays. Our kids grew up together. We used to joke that one day we'd retire as neighbors. But then, something changed. At first, it was subtle. I noticed Claire laughing a little too hard at Ethan's jokes, touching his arm during conversations, the way they exchanged glances when they thought nobody was paying attention. One summer night, we were all hanging out in our backyard. Rachel had gone upstairs to put the kids to bed while I was grilling steaks outside. Claire and Ethan were standing near the pool. That's when I heard it. "You're insane," Claire whispered. "Then why do you keep coming back?" Ethan replied. The second they noticed me approaching, they stopped talking. "What are you two whispering about?" I asked. "Nothing," Claire answered way too quickly. I ignored it, because I trusted her, because I trusted him. Then they suddenly stopped coming over. Every invitation had an excuse. "Rachel isn't feeling well. Work's been crazy. Maybe next weekend." At the same time, Claire started changing. She became colder, distant. She smiled at messages on her phone, but the second I walked into the room, she locked the screen. At night, she started taking calls on the balcony. One night, I woke up around 4 a.m. and heard her whispering, "No, he doesn't suspect anything. Of course he doesn't." When she noticed me standing in the doorway, she immediately hung up. "Who was that?" I asked. "Rachel." But there was something in her eyes that made my stomach tighten. A few days later, I checked her phone for the first time. I still hate myself for doing it. But what scared me even more was what I found. Nothing. Deleted conversations. Empty message threads. Completely wiped apps. It was too clean. Nobody deletes everything unless they're hiding something. That's when I started paying attention. Claire stayed out later, bought expensive lingerie, changed her phone password, started showering the second she got home. I felt paranoid, like I was losing my mind. Then one evening something happened that I couldn't ignore anymore. We were having dinner when her phone lit up beside her plate. I only caught part of the message before she snatched it away. "He's starting to suspect something." She grabbed the phone so fast, she nearly knocked over her wine glass. "Who's texting you?" I asked. "No one." "I saw the message." "You're imagining things." She got up from the table and locked herself in the bathroom. A minute later, I heard her crying. The next day, I bought a GPS tracker. I told myself I only wanted peace of mind. Deep down, I already knew the truth. I attached the tracker underneath her car. 3 nights later, my phone buzzed at 2:07 a.m. Her car was moving. I looked beside me in bed. Claire was gone. My chest tightened so hard I could barely breathe. I grabbed my keys and followed the signal. The roads were empty, rain smearing the city lights across my windshield as I drove farther and farther out of town. The tracker led me to an old lake outside the city. The place had been abandoned for years. Rotten docks, empty cabins, dense woods surrounding black water. I killed my headlights before getting close. That's when I saw them. Claire and Ethan, standing beside Ethan's SUV. The trunk was open, and they were dragging something wrapped in a tarp. At first, my brain refused to process it. Then the tarp shifted, and and I saw a human hand. I nearly threw up. Claire kept nervously looking around. "Hurry up," she hissed. "I'm trying," Ethan snapped back. I sat frozen inside my car, gripping the steering wheel so hard my fingers hurt. My wife. My best friend. A body. I started recording on my phone. My hands were shaking so badly the footage kept jerking. They dragged the body toward the water. Then the tarp slipped open, and I saw Rachel's face. Her eyes were still open. I'll never forget that expression for the rest of my life. Ethan shoved the body into the lake, but it floated for a few seconds before sinking. For one horrifying moment, it looked like Rachel was staring directly at me from the dark water. Then she disappeared beneath the surface. Claire suddenly froze. "Wait." She turned toward the trees, toward me. "You hear that?" she whispered. "There's nobody out here," Ethan said. "I swear someone's watching us." I shut my phone screen off instantly. Even the tiny glow felt dangerous. They stood there for several more minutes before finally driving away. I stayed hidden for nearly an hour, unable to move, unable to understand what I'd just witnessed. And then I made the biggest mistake of my life. I didn't call the police. Because I loved her. Because I desperately wanted there to be another explanation. The next morning, Claire was lying beside me in bed like nothing had happened. "You look pale," she said softly. "Did you sleep okay?" I could barely look at her. "You know I love you, right?" she whispered. Something about the way she said it terrified me. Later that day, Rachel was officially reported missing. Ethan played the role of the devastated husband perfectly. He texted everyone nonstop. "Has anyone heard from Rachel? She's not answering. I'm really worried." I read those messages while feeling like I was slowly losing my sanity. That night, Claire suddenly became affectionate again. She hugged me, kissed me, wrapped her arms around me in bed, as if she hadn't helped dump a body into a lake 12 hours earlier. That was somehow the scariest part. I started copying everything. Messages, locations, videos. I created hidden folders on my laptop, and the deeper I dug, the worse things became. Claire had a second phone. I found it hidden inside an old shoebox in the closet. A cheap, prepaid flip phone. Most of the messages were deleted, but some remained. "She's going to tell him. We have to fix this. After tonight, we'll finally be free." And one message from Ethan. "It was an accident. You saw what happened." My hands started trembling. Rachel had discovered the affair months earlier. She had threatened to tell me everything. She wanted a divorce. The night she died, they had all met at the lake house. The last message Rachel ever sent Claire read, "You destroyed 2 families. Hope he was worth it." Nothing after that. Then suddenly, at 2:03 a.m., the hidden phone buzzed in my hand. A new message. "You've been snooping through my things?" My blood ran cold. I slowly looked up. Claire was standing in the bedroom doorway. I hadn't even heard her walk in. "What are you doing?" I asked. She smiled, but there was nothing human in it anymore. "I think I should ask you that." I stood up instantly. "You killed Rachel." Silence. Then Claire sat down on the edge of the bed and covered her face. "It was an accident. An accident! Rachel attacked me. She was screaming, hysterical. Ethan tried to stop her and she hit her head." "And your solution was throwing her into a lake?" Claire started crying. Real tears. "We panicked." I stared at her like she was a stranger. "You need to go to the police. They'll arrest both of us." "I had nothing to do with this." "You were there. Everything inside me stopped. What? Your phone connected to the tower near the lake. If there's an investigation, they'll see it. I realized then she had already thought everything through. You're threatening me? I'm trying to protect us. Us. She still kept saying us. That night I couldn't sleep, and I started noticing things. Claire constantly texting someone, watching me carefully, locking herself in rooms. Then I discovered someone had searched my car. The glove compartment was open. My dash cam was gone. She was looking for the video. That's when I became afraid of my own wife. A week later, police found Rachel's body. The news exploded everywhere. Ethan continued acting like a grieving husband, but that same evening he came over to our house. From the kitchen, I overheard them whispering near the front door. Does he know? Not everything. Are you sure? For now. For now. I began recording conversations, making backup copies, preparing for the worst, because I realized something terrifying. If they could kill Rachel, they could kill me too. A few days later, Claire suggested we spend the weekend alone at a cabin outside the city. We need time together, she said. I refused. She kept insisting. And suddenly, I knew. She was planning something. That night, I sent copies of every file and video to my brother with a scheduled email. If anything happens to me, go to the police. The next evening, Claire cooked dinner. Candles, wine, soft music. For the first time in months, she acted like the woman I fell in love with. And somehow, that terrified me more than anything else. I'm sorry, she whispered. For what? For everything. She handed me a glass of wine. That's when I noticed her hand trembling. You're not drinking? I asked. In a minute. I stared at the wine, then at her, and suddenly understood. She was waiting for me to drink first. I slowly placed the glass back on the table. What did you put in it? Her expression changed instantly, like a mask falling off. You should have just let this go, she said quietly. Ice spread through my chest. Claire. Tears filled her eyes. I didn't want it to happen this way, but you left me no choice. Then someone started pounding on the front door, hard, aggressively. Police. Claire went completely pale. Ethan had confessed first. They arrested him that morning and he broke almost immediately. But the real horror came later. At the station, the detective showed me the autopsy report. Rachel hadn't died from hitting her head. She had been strangled. And Claire's DNA was found underneath her fingernails. I sat there trying to process everything when the detective said something that made my entire world collapse. There's one more thing, he said. Rachel managed to send a voice message before she died. He pressed play. Static, crying, screaming. Then Rachel's terrified voice. Oh God, Claire, please, don't let him. A loud impact. Then another voice. My voice. I froze. That's impossible. But it was me. Every syllable. Exactly me. The problem was, I had supposedly been home that night. Then the detective calmly added, your phone was near the lake 3 hours before the estimated time of death. My vision blurred. Fragments started returning. Drinking after work. A strange gap in my memory. Waking up feeling sick. And then I remembered a text Claire had sent me the following morning. A message I never questioned until now. Don't worry. you won't remember anything.